In my previous life, during the college entrance exam math test, my deskmate deliberately slipped a cheat sheet under my feet and suddenly raised her hand to report me for cheating. I was taken out of the exam hall, while she received school recognition for her honest reporting. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the moment she secretly bent down to slip the note. I stepped on the note and raised my hand, shouting, "Teacher!" She slipped a cheat sheet under my desk. The math exam papers were handed out, and the only sound left in the exam hall was the rustling of paper. I held my pen, my fingertips cold, not from nervousness, but because I saw Sue Manning's right hand slowly reaching out from under the edge of her desk. She was sitting diagonally in front of me, her body slightly turned, her school uniform covering the back of her hand, her fingertips pinching a tightly folded piece of paper. She pushed the paper toward the edge of my desk, like a needle quietly rolling into the cracks of fate. Some scenes, even if experienced only once, are enough to be remembered for a lifetime. The hallway I was taken through after being removed from the exam hall, the countless pairs of eyes watching me, my homeroom teacher's disappointed face, my mother's trembling hands in the office, and Sue Manning standing on the award podium with a red flower pinned to her chest as an honest examinee. That path I would never walk again. The moment the paper ball hit the ground, I didn't look down to pick it up. Instead, I lifted my foot and stepped on it precisely. Before Sue Manning could retract her hand, I raised mine, my voice piercing clearly through the entire exam hall. "Teacher!" She slipped a cheat sheet under my desk. Swish! All the examinees' pens stopped. The proctor in the front row suddenly looked up. Sue Manning froze in her seat, half her face as pale as paper. Another proctor hurried over. "Student, don't speak during the exam." I didn't move my foot. "Teacher, please record the abnormal situation now. The note is under my left foot." Her hand was just resting beside my desk. According to exam regulations, if there's suspicion of passing prohibited items, the scene should be secured immediately. My speech was calm, each word clearly enunciated. The proctor's expression changed. Sue Manning finally reacted, her eyes welling up, and she immediately stood up. "Teacher, it wasn't me, I didn't do anything. Lin Ji Xia, why are you falsely accusing me?" She cried quickly, as if she'd rehearsed it. The exam room filled with a tense, suppressed commotion. I looked at her and said calmly, "Your right hand hasn't been withdrawn yet, the teacher can see it." Instinctively, she tried to hide her hand in her sleeve, too quickly, making the gesture even more noticeable. A student in the back row gasped quietly. The proctor immediately said firmly, "Quiet, continue answering." The involved examinee, "Do not leave your seat." I looked down at the test paper. Question 1 was about sets, so simple it was almost glaring, but I didn't pick up my pen. The proctor bent down to pick up the note. I immediately reminded him, "Teacher, please don't touch the note directly with your hands. There might be fingerprints, ink marks, and tear marks. You can use the blank seal from the test bag to enclose it." He looked at me with a moment of surprise. Another proctor had already walked down from the podium, taking out a spare envelope and a report form. I released my foot. The note lay quietly on the floor. Its creased edge revealed a trace of blue ink. Sue Manning's right hand also had a smudge of the same blue. I pointed to her hand. "Teacher, the ink on her hand matches the edge of the note. Also, a small corner is missing from the lower right of her scratch paper. I suggest it be sealed as well." Sue Manning shrieked, "You're lying. That's just ink from when I was writing." I didn't look at her, only at the proctor. "Teacher, the time is now 9:03. Please include the time in the abnormal record." The proctor's face turned completely serious. He nodded to the teacher at the podium. "Notify the exam administration team." Sue Manning's tears hung on her face. Suddenly unable to fall, I sat back down, hands resting on the desk, not touching the test paper, not touching anything. At that moment, I knew more clearly than anyone else. First step 1. But it wasn't enough. Outside the examination room, there were the homeroom teacher, the grade director, Sue Jia's parents, and that familiar line, "Don't make a big deal out of it, we're classmates." They would come out one after another. I looked down at the examination number at the top of the test paper, and a thread inside me snapped taut. This time, I wouldn't rely on crying, begging, or anyone suddenly having a change of heart. I would rely only on evidence. The examination staff arrived faster than I expected. The door opened quietly, and 2 staff members entered, one wearing a name badge, Mr. Chen. He first checked the sealed bag, then looked at me and Sue Manning, who first reported the irregularity. I raised my hand. "Here's what happened." I spoke in the shortest possible sentences. At the start of the math exam, She bent down from the front right and pushed a folded note under my desk. I didn't touch the note. I stepped on it and immediately raised my hand to report. At that moment, her right hand was still near my desk, and there was blue ink on it. Mr. Chen stared at me for 3 seconds. Are you sure? Yes. He turned to Su Manny. Su Manny cried and shook her head. It wasn't me. She's framing me. I just bent down to pick up an eraser. I immediately replied, may I ask where the eraser is now? Su Manny froze. On her desk. The eraser sat perfectly intact, next to her pencil case. The entire examination room fell silent, with only the sound of the fan audible. Mr. Chen glanced at the recorder and wrote it down. Su Manny's face turned even paler. I added, her desk area can also be checked for any signs of a dropped eraser. The distance between my seat and hers is less than half a meter. The surveillance should capture the direction she bent down. Lin Jixia, Su Manny suddenly cried out. How could you do this to me? We're deskmates. I looked at her, my voice calm. So when you slipped the note over, you should have remembered we're deskmates. Her sobs caught in her throat. Teacher Chen didn't let her speak further. He assigned 2 invigilators to continue monitoring the exam, took Su Manny to the backup examination room, and left me at my seat awaiting further instructions. Before leaving, Su Manny glanced back at me. Her eyes held no trace of injustice, only a fleeting, unmistakable venom. Good, that was far more real than tears. I picked up my pen. The first question on the test had the answer B. As I wrote it down, my heart remained utterly still. True retaliation isn't about shouting the loudest, it's about making every move force the other side into a corner with no escape. The examination hall fell silent again. I began answering the questions. From 9:06 to 11:30, a full 144 minutes, I didn't look up again. The interrupted time. Examination staff finally gave me an extra 7 minutes. For most people, 7 minutes is short. For a math paper, it's enough to check the key steps of 2 final questions. I quickly reviewed the multiple choice section and completed the classification discussion for the last calculus problem when the bell for collecting papers rang. The invigilator walked over to me and whispered deliberately, Lin Jixia, please don't leave just yet. The examination team needs to verify some details with you. I nodded, sure. As I walked out of the exam hall, many people turned to look at me. Some had complicated expressions, others showed curiosity, and some clearly breathed a sigh of relief. I stayed seated, unmoving. Su Manny didn't return. 10 minutes later, Teacher Chen took me to the examination office. Inside the room were 2 examination staff members, a school representative, and 2 invigilators. On the table lay a sealed bag containing the note inside a transparent pouch, alongside Su Manning's scratch paper. I only glanced at it before looking away. Teacher Chen asked, please recount the entire process again, from the start of the exam until you raised your hand. I answered truthfully, without exaggeration or emotion. He asked, and I answered, did you know the content of the note in advance? No, I didn't unfold it or touch it. Do you have any conflicts with Su Manning? No public conflicts, but she has repeatedly asked me about the order of answering the final math questions recently, and I didn't tell her. The school representative immediately frowned. Let's avoid subjective speculation for now. I glanced at his name tag, Zhao Deming, vice principal of No. 1 high school. I replied calmly, so what I stated are facts, not speculation. She asked, and I refused. As for whether this is related to today's incident, that's for the examination committee to decide. Zhao Deming's expression darkened slightly. Teacher Chen raised a hand to stop him and asked me to continue. He pushed Su Manning's scratch paper toward me. You mentioned a tear mark earlier. What is your basis for that? I didn't touch the paper. The torn corner at the bottom right of her scratch paper is a diagonal tear. The top left edge of the note has fraying in the same direction, and the shapes appear to match visually. Whether they align perfectly requires professional comparison. Teacher Chen picked up both sheets of paper and aligned them through the transparent bag. The room fell silent for a moment. Though not a perfect match, the curvature of the tear was clear enough to see. One invigilator whispered, it does look similar. Zhao Deming immediately interjected, similar doesn't mean it is. Students under high-pressure exams might misunderstand each other. I looked at him, Principal Zhao, I don't accept replacing an investigation with misunderstanding. He narrowed his eyes. Lin Jixia, you seem quite emotional right now. I smiled slightly. Since entering this room, I haven't raised my voice, cried, slammed the table, or interrupted anyone. May I ask where I've shown emotion? Zhao Deming was left speechless. Teacher Chen glanced at me, a faint hint of approval flashing in his eyes. he continued. What are your requests? First, seal and preserve the note, Sue Manning's scratch paper, and the on-site records of my seat. Second, retrieve and preserve the complete exam hall surveillance footage. Third, provide a written explanation for the interruption of my exam time. Fourth, until the investigation results are out, the school must not imply in any form that I am suspected of cheating. Zhao Deming's expression grew even darker. Lin Jixia, the school won't hastily label any student. I looked up at him. That would be best. Suddenly, hurried footsteps sounded outside the door. The homeroom teacher, Zhou Liping, pushed the door open and entered, followed closely by my mother. My mother was wearing a faded shirt, and her forehead was covered in sweat. Clearly, she had rushed all the way here. When she saw me, her eyes reddened immediately. I stood up at once. Mom, I'm fine. Zhou Liping stepped forward, his face wearing an anxious and reproachful expression. Lin Jixia, why didn't you tell your teacher about such a big matter first? The college entrance exams aren't over yet. Making such a scene isn't good for anyone. The familiar words came. I looked at him. Mr. Zhou, since the incident happened in the exam hall, it should be reported to the invigilator and the examination affairs group first, not the homeroom teacher. Zhou Liping was taken aback. My mother grabbed my hand, her voice trembling. Teacher, my daughter wouldn't cheat. She's never. Mom. I squeezed her hand back. There's no need to prove anything. We only need to look at the evidence. My mother stared at me blankly. I slowed my tone. The evidence is on the table, and the examination affairs group is investigating. You don't need to beg anyone. As soon as I said this, my mother's tears suddenly fell, not from despair, but as if she had finally found the strength to stand tall. Zhou Liping's face darkened. Lin Jixia, you should focus on the upcoming exams now. Don't waste your energy on these matters. Sue Manning is also crying terribly, saying you've wronged her. You've been classmates for 3 years. Why, Mr. Zhou? I interrupted him. Her tears are not evidence. Zhou Liping's expression froze. The examination affairs room fell silent for 2 seconds. Teacher Chen closed the record book. Let's stop here for today. Student Lin Jixia, go back and prepare for the afternoon exam. During the investigation, do not accept any informal mediation. Do not post any information online, and do not be persuaded by anyone to make verbal promises. I nodded. Understood. He handed me an acknowledgement receipt for the incident report. I took it, folded it neatly, and placed it in a transparent file folder. Zhou Liping's eyes immediately fell on that receipt, as if he wanted to say something but forcefully held back. Stepping out of the exam office, my mom still clung tightly to my hand. Xia, are you really okay? I looked at her and said, there's a problem, but I can handle it. But they're all teachers, all part of the school. Mom, I stopped walking. If teachers and the school stand on the side of the truth, I respect them. If they stand on the side of something else, I'll elevate the truth to a higher place. Her lips moved, and finally, she nodded firmly. Before the afternoon exam, I returned to the rest area. The class group chat had exploded. Someone asked where Sue Manning had gone. Someone else claimed I'd had a falling out with her. And another sarcastically commented, they're still fighting over the college entrance exam. That's impressive. Soon, Sue Manning sent a long message. I really don't know how this happened. I just dropped something during the exam, and then Xia suddenly accused me of cheating. I'm really scared and heartbroken now. If I did something wrong that made her misunderstand, I'm willing to apologize. Immediately, others responded with comfort. Manny, don't cry. The innocent will be proven innocent. Everyone knows how kind you are. Some people are just under too much pressure. After reading it, I didn't respond with insults. Instead, I took a photo of the exam committee's receipt, obscuring personal information, and posted it in the group, adding, the formal investigation has begun. Please stop guessing and spreading rumors. The group went silent instantly. 30 seconds later, Zhou Liping sent a message. Everyone, focus on the exam. Don't discuss it. I turned off my phone. Good. The second step was also secured. On the afternoon of the final exam day, the sky was overcast, as if about to rain. After the last paper was collected, the entire teaching building erupted in cheers. Some threw away scratch paper, others hugged and cried, and some rushed toward the school gate to find their parents. I packed my pencil case, zipped up my backpack, and felt like I had just completed a long surgery. Just as I reached the stairwell, Zhou Liping was already waiting there. He didn't call me Jixia as he used to, but instead used my full name, Lin Jixia. Come here for a moment. I followed him to an empty classroom. As soon as the door closed, The smile vanished from his face. How far do you really want to take this? I placed my backpack on the table but didn't sit down. As far as the investigation goes, Zhou Liping rubbed his temples. The teacher knows you've been wronged, but the college entrance exam is over now. You have good grades, and your future is still long. If Sue Manning is really held accountable, her life will be ruined. I looked up. And what if it were me who was held accountable? He paused for a second. But you're fine now, aren't you? Those words fell lightly, like a blunt knife. I smiled. So, in your view, if the knife doesn't pierce the heart, it doesn't count as murder. Zhou Liping's expression changed. Lin Jixia, don't be so extreme. I took out my phone and pressed the button to save the recording. When he saw the screen, his face instantly stiffened. You were recording. From the moment I walked in, I put my phone back in my pocket. Mr. Zhou, you're an adult and a homeroom teacher. You should know that meeting a student alone in an empty classroom is inappropriate in the first place. His voice rose. You're guarding against your teacher like a thief. I'm guarding against an inappropriate conversation. The air froze. He stared at me as if seeing me for the first time. Over the past 3 years, I had always been the kind of student in his eyes who was easiest to manage. Good grades, quiet, no family background, never causing trouble, never talking back. When competition spots were adjusted at the last minute, I didn't ask questions. When class presentation opportunities were given to others, I didn't fight for them. When Sue Manning borrowed my notes and never returned them, I just rewrote them. That's why they thought I was suitable to be sacrificed. I'm not suitable anymore. Zhou Liping suppressed his anger. Do you know who Sue Manning's father is? Do you know how many connections her mother has in the education circle? You're just a kid from an ordinary family. If you insist on clashing head-on, you'll be the one who suffers in the end. I nodded. I recorded that too. His face turned pale. Lin Jixia, I pulled open the classroom door. Mr. Zhou, I'll submit what you just said as supplementary material. Outside the door stood 2 passing classmates. They had clearly heard the last part, their eyes wide with shock. Zhou Liping's face could no longer hold its composure. Without another word, I went straight downstairs. At the school gate, my mother stood outside the crowd, clutching a bottle of water. When she saw me, she immediately came forward. Finished the exam? Yes. How did it feel? Good. That was the truth. Not just because I had answered the exam papers well, but because I had finally, at the most important crossroads, not been pushed off the edge. For the next few days, I didn't attend any class gatherings or accept any invitations from classmates. I did 3 things. First, I compiled a complete timeline. Second, I backed up all recordings and chat logs. Third, I researched the cooperation between the Sue family and the school through public sources. I spent 3 hours online, using the most straightforward and reliable method, screenshotting and saving information from the Municipal Education Bureau's official website, parent-teacher committee announcements, news on school enterprise collaborations, and publicly available procurement records from the Education Bureau. Many people think students can only wait for results, but results are never simply waited for. They are built page by page with evidence. On the 3rd day, the first announcement from the examination committee was released. The wording was very restrained. During the mathematics exam at a certain test center, a candidate was suspected of passing a prohibited note. Relevant evidence has been sealed, and an investigation has been initiated. The candidate involved, Lin, did not come into contact with the note, and their examination rights remain unaffected. The phrase, did not come into contact with the note, that was enough. The atmosphere in the class group chat immediately shifted. So, Lin wasn't cheating. Who actually slipped the note? Then, who was it that said they were under pressure and falsely accused someone earlier? Sue Manning did not reappear. Zhou Liping was also uncharacteristically silent. Silence does not mean the end. On the day of score estimation, the school required all senior high school students to return to campus. As soon as I entered the classroom, the lively chatter quickly died down. Sue Manning sat at her desk, her eyes red and swollen, looking noticeably thinner. A few girls surrounded her, as if protecting a fragile object. I walked over to my own seat and noticed a faint scratch on the desktop. Someone had carved the word, bitch, in pencil. I stared at it for 2 seconds, then took out my phone to take a picture. Someone from the back row whispered, "What are you taking a picture of?" I turned around. It was Huang Jia, the girl who was usually closest to Sue Manning. I asked, "Did you carve this?" She immediately stiffened her neck and retorted, "It wasn't me." "Then why are you so nervous?" "Who's nervous?" I sent the photo to Zhou Liping, copying the grade-level director's email, with the caption, during the college entrance exam investigation. Offensive graffiti has appeared on the seat of the student involved. Please preserve the classroom. Surveillance footage. Wang Jia's face changed. She probably hadn't expected me to make a big deal out of such a small matter, but they didn't understand. Insults are never trivial, they are the prelude to the next round of public slander. Zhou Liping rushed into the classroom quickly, first glancing at the desk, then at me, his eyes lowered heavily. Lin Jixia, come out. I didn't move. Teacher Zhou, the score estimation hasn't started yet. If it's about the carving, please say it in front of everyone in the classroom so they can hear the school's stance. He clenched his teeth. The entire class was unnervingly silent. Finally, he turned to everyone. During the investigation period, no one is allowed to discuss, insult, or spread information about the involved students. The school will look into the desk carving incident, I added, and please give me a written result after the investigation is clear. Zhou Liping's facial muscles twitched. After the score estimation began, I filled it out quickly. For math, out of 150 points, I only lost 1 point on the last fill-in-the-blank question, which might have been subject to interpretation. Someone in the class saw my estimated score sheet and whispered, "How can his math be so high?" I didn't look up. Whether it was high or not, the grades would speak for themselves. No one else had the right to grade me. Sue's father first approached me at the school gate after the score estimation ended. A black sedan was parked by the roadside, the window rolled down, and a middle-aged man in a gray shirt smiled at me. Lin Jixia, would you have a moment to talk? I glanced at Zhou Liping standing behind him. He didn't look at me, as if he took this conversation for granted. I didn't move toward the car. If it's about the exam incident, please go through the examination administration or the school's official channels. Sue's father's smile didn't waver. I'm Manning's father. Little girl, I mean no harm. These past few days haven't been easy for anyone. Manning cried herself to fever at home. You've been classmates for 3 years. There's no need to drive things to the end. I pulled out my phone and turned on the recording. Go ahead. Sue's father's smile finally faded a bit. Zhou Liping grew anxious. Lin Jixia, why are you recording again? I looked at him, because every informal conversation, someone tries to make me give up my formal rights. Sue's father stared at me for a few seconds, then stepped out of the car. He wasn't tall, but he carried a strong presence, speaking with the habitual tone of someone used to giving orders. What do you want? We can talk. Compensation, recommendation letters, anything is negotiable. I know your family's situation. There's no need to ruin your future. I asked, what do you know about my family? He paused. I took a step forward. Do you know my mom is a worker, that my dad isn't around, that I have no connections? So you think you can buy my silence with money and a recommendation letter? Parents nearby turned to look. Sue's father's expression darkened slightly. Lin, don't be so aggressive. I'm trying to help you solve the problem. The problem wasn't created by me, but if you keep making a scene like this, no one benefits. I was tired of hearing that sentence. I opened the file folder and took out the examination committee's receipt. Let me say it again. My demands are only 3. The incident must be reported to the Provincial Examination Institute. The investigation results must be made public in writing, and Sue Manny must be dealt with according to law and regulations for allegedly framing others and disrupting the examination room order. Beyond that, I won't talk. Sue's father stared at me, his eyes turning cold. Are you sure? Yes, young man. Don't make your path too narrow. I smiled. The one making the path narrow is the person who slips cheat sheets under someone else's feet, not me. The school gate fell completely silent. Zhou Liping's face turned pale, then flushed with anger. When my mother arrived, she just caught the last sentence. She immediately pulled me behind her, her hands trembling, yet she stood straight. My daughter doesn't lie. We're ordinary, but ordinary people shouldn't be wronged. If you have anything to say, talk to the examination committee. Sue's father's expression finally turned completely ugly. He didn't press further, got into his car, and left. Zhou Liping shot me a fierce glare and also walked away. Only then did my mother release my hand. Her palm was drenched in sweat. Xiaxia, did I say the right thing just now? I nodded, yes. She seemed to want to breathe a sigh of relief, but then quickly grew anxious again. But will they retaliate against you? Yes, I didn't lie to her. That's why we must leave a trace at every step. After returning home, I transcribed today's recording into text, along with photos from the school gate, time, location, and all the people present, compiling everything into supplementary materials. Before sending it, I reviewed it again, calm in tone, clear in facts, without emotional commentary. that was exactly what I wanted. Emotion might win sympathy for a minute, but evidence can silence someone for life. At 9 o'clock that night, Teacher Chen called me. Lin Jixia, your supplementary materials have been received. Let me remind you, there might be further pressure from the school or parents. Don't meet them alone. Understood? He paused. Your ability to organize materials is impressive. Have you considered law? I looked at the math test paper on the table and smiled. I've just started thinking about it. That wasn't just polite talk. Since that day, I truly began treating rules as a subject to master, because I had finally realized, there are too many people in this world who don't lack knowledge of right and wrong. They just bet that you don't understand procedures, evidence, or how to bring a matter into the light. So I'll learn. Until no one can ever cover up my life with a simple, forget it. 3 days later, the investigation took a new turn. The examination committee notified me to provide a supplementary statement. When I arrived, Su Manny and her parents were already there. Su Manny was wearing a mask, her eyes red as a flower battered by a storm. Seeing me, she suddenly stood up and bowed deeply. Lin Jixia, I'm sorry. That day I was really just too nervous. Maybe I accidentally knocked my draft paper off and made you misunderstand. Can you forgive me? Sue's mother immediately wiped her tears. Manny has been timid since childhood, and she's been on the verge of breaking down these past few days. Lin, just have some pity on her. I looked at the mother and daughter, saying nothing. I don't accept verbal apologies. If you admit to passing forbidden notes, make a formal statement to the examination committee. If you don't admit it, wait for the investigation results. Don't perform for me in the hallway anymore. Sue's mother's face changed. How can you be so heartless? I looked at her. Your daughter was just as calm when she slipped the note under my desk. Sue's mother was speechless. Sue's father said coldly, Lin Jixia, one should leave some room for others. I took out a file bag. Mr. Su, you said something similar at the school gate last time, and I've already submitted the recording. If you continue to pressure me today, I will also submit additional evidence. Sue's father turned pale. At that moment, the door opened. Teacher Chen walked out and glanced at the corridor. Everyone, come in. This time, besides the physical evidence on the table, there was also a surveillance screenshot, a frame showing Su Manny bending down, her right hand reaching toward the corner of my desk. The angle wasn't perfect, but it was clear enough. Her so-called picking up an eraser. In the footage, it didn't hold up, because at that moment, her eraser was clearly on the desk. Teacher Chen pushed the screenshot in front of her. Su Manny, please explain. Su Manny's crying stopped. In that second, she finally understood. Not all tears can wash away traces. Su Manny didn't admit it on the spot. She just insisted she didn't remember, was too nervous, and it might have been a misunderstanding.